Welcome to the Pride Perspectives radio show. Today our show is focusing on Cabrillo College, and we're excited to have our guest here, Cabrillo College President Jenn Capps, talking about access to education and LGBTQ plus student supports. My name is Rob Darrow. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Our Pride Perspectives radio show is here on KSQD every other Sunday from 5 to 6. You can find all the recordings and updates on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org. And I'm here tonight with my co-host, Cece Pinero. Hey, Cece.
Hi, Rob. Yeah, my name is Cece Pinero, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And our show is guided by the following beliefs. We believe that Santa Cruz County is thriving partly because of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people. And LGBTQ plus people in Santa Cruz County are thriving because of the broader Santa Cruz County. We believe in the words of Jewish poet Emma Lazarus, that none of us are free until all of us are free.
On this show, you will hear us refer to queer history and LGBTQ plus history. For us, these terms are interchangeable and refer to people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, anywhere on the gender identity spectrum, and who they are attracted to. All are welcome to be part of this radio show. So, Cece, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been together. What have you been up to?
Geez, well, like I was saying earlier, I went to see Ani DeFranco and Valerie June at the Civic Auditorium.
Now, for people who don't know who those people are, why are they important?
Well, Ani DeFranco has been an out lesbian, radical feminist musician for many, many years, and she's famous for her Slammin' Babes. I think it's called Slammin' Babes production company. She refused to sell out to the man, as we say. All these production companies, record companies wanted to sponsor her and have her be on their record label, and she said no. And so she brings up and comers like Valerie June and other people are on her own record label, and she likes to drop the F-bomb like I do all the time. So.
Yeah, which we don't allow on the radio station, right?
That's right, but she has that in her lyrics, and she was very complimentary about Santa Cruz and how lucky we are to live here and how beautiful it is. She's from Brooklyn, New York, and Valerie June is from Tennessee, and they both were like, wow, Santa Cruz is amazing. You're really so lucky to live here. And we are all lucky and grateful to live here, and it's great to be reminded of that.
Yeah, so where did that take place?
That was at the Civic Auditorium.
Okay, at the Civic.
Yeah, which is a great place. There, it just felt like old Santa Cruz because there's people with kids because it's an all-age event.
Yeah. Even with the language used, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe the kids weren't paying attention. Who knows? They were just dancing.
Yeah.
It was great to see so many different kinds of people there.
Isn't that the great part of Santa Cruz? We just came off of the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music and the range of people that attended that over that 2 weeks. And then we turn right around and have this concert.
Yeah, and I went to the Cabrillo Concert of Contemporary Music, too. Also, the Cabrillo Festival. That was so great.
Right.
Not
to be confused with Cabrillo College, just so people are listening.
That's right.
It's a separate
totally
entity.
Separate thing. That Cabrillo.
You can go read about that history on your own if you want.
We're going to have to study that Cabrillo and how Cabrillo got their name on everything.
A lot of history there, but it kind of reminds me of the years of the 90s and 2000s, how there was ongoing queer entertainment that was brought to Santa Cruz in a range of different ways. And I've talked to many people who said, oh yeah, I met my future partner at this event and things like that, right? Going way back to the Women's Music Festival, like in the 70s, right?
Yes. Well, and tonight, right now, there's different lesbian performers that are performing at the Neighbors Bar, which is the last event that's happening at the Neighbors Bar, and we're sorry we can't be there to hear all of them perform.
Yeah, we're sorry to know that the Neighbors pub is closing. I know that they had a good run while they were there, but yeah, it's hard to run a restaurant and pay rent and all those things for sure.
Yes, it's expensive here. We know that.
Yeah, just a shout out to Frankie, who was the mastermind behind all that and really had this dream for many years and made it all come to pass. And hopefully they'll find a new place that will be set up somewhere in some way. But it is interesting to think about how LGBTQ plus bars and spaces like that have gradually gone away because it's not it's not like you can't meet people other places now.
Well, in the olden days, we didn't have the diversity center.
Yeah.
Right. So, and a lot of communities have diversity centers now. And before, I mean, that was history and herstory, is that we all had to meet in bars. That was the only place where people could meet each other.
Right. For a long time.
For a long time. So then when you can expand from that, we're like, wow, yay, let's go do other things.
Yeah. And so around Santa Cruz County, we have lots of places that people meet up. And of course, with the laws that have been passed and equal marriage and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're really...
Makes it pretty easy to interface with people. And we're thankful in Santa Cruz County that we have lots of different ways for people to meet each other. And for anybody out there listening, again, you can drop by the Neighbors Pub right now. They'll be there till 7 o'clock with Patty Maxine, who's been on our show. And
Yes.
who are the other people?
Christy McCarthy.
Oh, Christy McCarthy, of course. Yeah.
Yes, we have to get her on the show one day.
We do.
Yes,
Yeah,
and then
she's a
Ginny
great singer.
Mitchell.
Right.
And then they have special guest Lisa P., which Lisa Pollock, who we've had her music on our show before a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize you're into music so much, or you know all these musicians.
Yeah.
Is it because you lived in Santa Cruz and went to all these events? You know these people, or you were in circles where they would be, or?
Yeah, I guess so. Just in circles where they all are, right? I don't know. And plus, I like to go see live music. I think there's nothing like live music. I try and go to see live music once a month of different kinds.
Oh,
for sure.
nice.
All different kinds, yeah.
Are there favorite places you go to?
Well, yeah, the Mountain Winery is my
Okay.
favorite place to go see live music. It's so beautiful.
But isn't that over the
It's
hill?
over the hill in
Yeah.
Saratoga.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure there wasn't a mountain winery around here
Yeah.
that I knew
No,
of.
but I think we've got, Vaquero, is it called Vaquero Winery, that's starting to have live music up there now in
Is that right?
Watsonville.
Oh,
I haven't been
nice.
up there, but they're supposed to be doing some
Yeah.
live music in Watsonville now.
So back to the way you met all these people. I mean, when you first moved to Santa Cruz, as I've looked at the history of LGBTQ life here, people say to me that Santa Cruz was known as the lesbian capital of the world. Do you remember that term?
Well, yeah, I do remember that term. I'm trying to figure out when exactly it was. It's probably more started like in the 80s, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought
80s,
it
90s.
coincided with UC Santa Cruz and the
Yes, and the
Feminist Studies Department there,
yes,
right?
the Deb Abbott was the first
founder of the
founder of
Cantu
the
Center
yeah,
and
the
stuff.
the
Yeah,
UCSC
and then Bettina
Cantu
Aptheker
Center.
with Feminist
Bettina,
Studies.
I got
Yeah.
to introduce Bettina one time at the Rio Theater. I can't even, it was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
women's history. I
Right.
can't even remember what the event was, but I got to introduce Bettina up on stage, and I got up there and I said, and now I'd like to introduce Bettina, who needs no last name.
Yeah,
And she
right.
got up there, she said, yeah, like Cher. And I'm like, yeah. And Madonna, yeah. Like Cher and Madonna.
Cher,
we
Madonna,
have
and
Bettina.
Bettina, exactly.
Yeah, and Bettina. She loved
There's
that.
only one Bettina,
That's
that's
right.
for sure. And she's certainly a historic icon around Santa Cruz County.
Yes.
And you know, I saw her at some of those events at the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music as well.
Oh,
And,
good.
You know, she's
Yeah,
still around. But
she's
but
around.
you know, it'd be interesting to find anybody listening out there who can tell me or suggest who first coined the phrase lesbian capital of the world, because I've heard that from many of you lesbian
That's
people.
a good question to ask
But
Bettina.
I don't know if that's still true today or not. But I mean, I know there's large percentages of LGBTQ plus people that live here, and certainly with the current climate out there, lots of transgender people are moving to Santa Cruz County and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all happy to be here,
Yeah, exactly.
supporting all those pieces.
Yes, we are. We're very happy to be here. We're very lucky to live here.
So we were talking about music, but let's talk about books just to review our Angelica Glass show last time. As for those of you who don't recall, Angelica wrote the book, I'm forgetting the name of it, but she walked every street in Santa Cruz County and is also a lesbian and has raised 2 kids here and had a great story to share. And hopefully her book is selling well. It's a fascinating read, reflections of her own family and all those types of things developed as part of that.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to, it's like you asked me, how do I know all these people? And what I remember, I was a single lesbian mom back in the day before every lesbian on the corner had a kid. And so was Angelica. And I remember meeting her at Bayview Elementary. I worked at Bayview Elementary, and I think she might have worked there, or her kid was, I don't know, but I remember meeting her there, and it's almost like, we have this gaydar where you see somebody go, oh, yeah, I know, that's I could tell, and hey, how you doing,
So you have a pretty good gaydar, huh?
Pretty good gaydar.
Yeah.
I still have some pretty good gaydar.
The odds are pretty good around Santa Cruz County, I would say, depending. Anyway, with Angelica, we talked about her book. Again, it's a great read. And if you get a chance, check out her website, angelicaglass.com, I think it is. And I just wanted to read this one part that fascinated me, the photos she took along the way. And she said that she didn't start taking photos, but eventually she took a photo on every street. And this one was her favorite, so I think I'll just read this one. It's a picture of a mother newt up in the water. And so here's what Angelica wrote. She said, if I had to pick a favorite among all the photographs I've taken, this would be it. I have no idea how it would be judged technically, but I worked hard to get the lighting just right. And the photograph brings me back to the awe I felt sitting in the cool river in the drizzle watching life. I love how the light at the top of the reed, the sky reflected in the newt's eye, and the eggs in their sacs echo each other throughout the vertical plane of the image. So check out Angelica's website and you can look at that picture as well.
Yes, that was great interview. It was so fun to have Angelica here and see her photos and be reminded of all these different places.
Yeah, for sure. And then also a couple of weeks ago we had the Rainbow Connections of Monterey County with oh no, I'm blanking on.
Yeah, we can't remember. Yes, we won't say the word, but we are OLD, but that's another swear word we don't use on the radio.
Casey Rodenbush.
Oh, look, Rob wins.
Yeah. Doing great work in Monterey County. Anybody listening from Monterey County, your kids are involved in the schools over there. Rainbow Connections is there to serving LGBTQ plus students, whether you're a teacher, an educator, or a family member that needs support. They've through the Monterey County mental health department, they have the Rainbow Connections grant. So, well, good. That seems like, one final thing we talked about was reminding people to register to vote if they're not ready to vote, because it's just, I heard on the radio, 10 weeks until the election. So anybody who's recently moved to Santa Cruz, re-registers so
or
you can
turning
vote.
18, register to vote. It's another privilege that we get to have here. And we're really lucky we have a lot of progressive candidates possibly, and hopefully some cool things, You never know what's going to be on the ballot, so you got to check it out.
Right.
I like to always tell people that the most important thing to vote for are judges. Can
Really?
I say that on the radio?
Not who we're voting for.
Just
Judges,
all
huh?
around, because people sort of leave that blank, and that really makes a difference in everybody's lives. Because at this one point, and I won't name names, but at this one point there was this guy that was running for a judge. He lost, and then he got me and my disabilities community behind him because he had 10 brothers and sisters, one sister with Down syndrome. And when the sister with Down syndrome needed a kidney, he raised his hand first and said, I'll donate my kidney. And I'm like, that person is qualified to judge me.
Yeah.
They got compassion. They know how to collaborate. 10 people, 10 kids in your family.
Yep.
You know how to collaborate. And that person was a great judge. And when you have judges like that, they see people as innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah. These are all our neighbors across Santa Cruz County.
That's right.
Our show today is about Cabrillo College and our Cabrillo College President, Jenn Capps, about access to education and LGBTQ plus student support. We're pleased to talk with Dr. Jenn Capps, who is the president. Jenn became president at Cabrillo College in January 2026, so that means you've been on the job for 8 months. Jenn grew up in Washington, D.C. and earned a number of college degrees, including her PhD in counselor education. She has served in a variety of roles in colleges and universities, including instructor, professor, dean, and provost, mostly in Colorado and then at Cal Poly Humboldt, until she became president at Cabrillo. In addition to her academic credentials, Jenn is also an out member of the LGBTQ plus community. We'll spend our first part before our break just kind of getting to know Jenn and then learn more about her vision for Cabrillo College. So, Jenn, we're so excited to have you here. Can you start off by sharing who you are, where you grew up, and a little bit about the family you grew up in?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's really excited. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, I grew up outside of, I always say Washington, D.C., because people don't always know that Washington, D.C. area is Northern Virginia. I differentiate Northern Virginia from the rest of Virginia. But I grew up there with a mom and a dad and a brother, and it was an awesome, super diverse place to grow up. I couldn't have had a better spot to grow up. I ended up going to college out that way and went to George Mason University. And I majored in sports, so I played basketball and rode crew, and that really kept me, on the journey to earning a college degree until I figured out my junior year in college that psychology was something I was pretty into. So it was a really great place to grow up. Enjoyed being out there, and really wanted to work with young people and really help them to kind of figure out their own place in the world and potential and that sort of thing. So
did you go to school to do sports?
Well, that's my joke, because I say sometimes people who are not all that into school, which is hilarious that I'm a college president now.
Is that right?
Yeah, because in the beginning I didn't like school very much, and some of that was because it didn't make a lot of sense to me why you march kids into school, sit them down, and make them sit there and listen to somebody kind of talk to you, right? And it didn't hit for me very well. So, but I loved being active and physical and that sort of thing. And so I made sure that I did well enough. I figured out later I was probably better off with more hands-on learning and depth of knowledge and having lots of different things going on at the same time. So,
and what position did you play in basketball?
Well, I was either too short a forward or too slow a guard. That's what I say. So I was a really good high school player and a pretty mediocre college player, but I still hold my own. It's something that helps me out, I think, building community here in Santa
so you
Cruz.
still play and stuff?
Yeah, we play at the college. And,
is that right?
Yeah, sometimes.
Lots of pickup games here and there? Or
I wouldn't
you got
say...
a group that,
yeah.
Are you kind of like the Barack Obama basketball group?
Okay, that's a tall order to live up to, but
we never heard much, but hearing now that we've got like the president here, you can tell us, how often do you play basketball and who do you play with?
Yeah, I mean, we've done we only did one in the spring semester, but we're going to do a regular, I think, every other week.
Wow.
In the fall semester, and it's just come one, come all.
Oh, cool.
It's a great way to build community.
Pickup game.
Yeah, great way to build community amongst the college.
And then did you say you did crew team too?
Yeah, I was a much better rower than I was a basketball player in college. Yep.
So have you been out in the Monterey Bay yet, with crewing out there?
I haven't rowed in the Monterey Bay. It's been a little while since I've rowed, but I spent a lot of time rowing up and down the East Coast, and we did very well.
The rivers along there, huh?
Yeah, the Schuylkill in Philadelphia. Yeah, exactly.
What a fascinating sport.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I mean, many of us, we only see that like in the Olympics and stuff like that.
Yep, it was awesome.
But
yeah.
So that was an important part of growing up for you.
Yeah, it was absolutely an important thing. Went to college, graduated from college, and worked for a year in a like a children's home kind of place for kids that were having a hard time as I was trying to figure out my next step. And I ended up going to graduate school in Colorado. Yeah. And I thought I was going to be in Colorado for 2 years and then get that degree and leave and hit one of the coasts because I really thought I was more of somebody that needed to be on a coast. And I ended up staying there for 24 years.
What college did you go to in Colorado?
University of Colorado.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, yep.
And then, so I'm curious what caused you to go to graduate school?
Yeah, what caused me to...
Because you said you got a degree and you got a job. Uh-huh. And you said you did that for like a year and then decided the next step, or...
Yeah, I think I knew enough to know that if you want to do something in the field of psychology, you have to get a graduate degree to be able to practice. And so I needed to earn, and I figured out I wanted to be a counselor. And so I say there were probably a couple different reasons why I wanted to be a counselor, and sort of trigger alert, I guess, a little bit for people who are listening. I had the unfortunate experience very young when I was 13 to have my best friend commit suicide. And then 2 years later, my other best friend committed suicide. So by the time I was 16, I had my two best friends had committed suicide. And those are my first experiences with death. And it was tragic. It was absolutely tragic to me. And it really made me think, man, that's not something that I want young people to have to go through. And had they had more help, that would have been a good thing. And then I'd say my own experience with family and having some fractures in families. I always say I could write a book about it. It's, you know, if Oprah was still doing her talk show circuit, I could write my book and be on Oprah in terms of the depth of interesting fractures and things on my mom's side of the family. But I'll give you this, you know, the tagline for the book. My mom didn't speak to her mom for 40 years, 40. And I found my mother. It's such a long story, but they had, you know, for all sorts of reasons had a fracturing. And so, I found her and called her up while I was in graduate school and reconnected with her. And the last 10 years of her life had a relationship with her. But that made me very sad too. And there was a lot of depth of things there that made that be. But
you found your grandmother?
Correct. Yep.
In college?
Graduate school,
Graduate school.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
and so did you get to hear from both sides as
I
to
did.
what the fracture was, so you could see how each person interprets whatever the thing is? Like, she said she did this or she this. And
then there was letters from my aunt who passed away right before I was able to meet her, and their journals. And then there were letters from World War II. I mean, it's fascinating. It really is a story to be had.
Wait, there were letters between your mom and your grandmother during that time period?
Not my mom, but my grandmother and my grandfather, who had also died in the war, or shortly after the war. Anyway, so you can really triangulate the whole story, and it's absolutely fascinating. But it's trauma, mental illness, misunderstanding, like all sorts of things. So that was probably number two. You know, one of the other reasons where it's like, wow, I want to help people to support people in better understanding each other and themselves, etc. So the Colorado's, I ended up earning a couple of degrees, and was able to practice. I'll go back a little bit. When my senior year in college is when I came out. Came out-ish. I guess I came out to the girlfriend that I was, having a relationship with, right? So we came out to each other, and so that was a big deal. And I think for a long time like many of us, the signs were there. I sort of knew it and was debating it in my head, but wasn't being honest with myself. And so that was, that was a really hard time for me. I think I didn't tell that many people at the time. Yeah. But everyone, for the most part, that I did tell was actually very supportive. It wasn't, I think the person that was least supportive was myself. Actually. Wow. And I was probably my hardest critic for a while, just trying to figure out what I was trying to be and measure up and what that meant and all of that. I didn't actually experience an unsupportive family as it related to that. There were other things that overshadowed that piece in terms of not feeling all that supported.
So when you shared that with your brother or with your parents, what was their reaction?
My mother and I have a complicated relationship. We continue, we're in a good place. We've had a complicated relationship over our life, over my life, but that wasn't the thing. She showed up and stepped forward and was and is incredibly supportive, and so that was a really good thing. My brother was one of the last probably close people I told, and he was kind of offended that he was the last. He was like, really? And I said, well, I think you mean the most to me. You're one of the most important people in my life, and I was scared, that sort of thing. And so it's always been good. So I've been really lucky in that. I mean, there have been lots of other ways where there have been challenges along the way in my life, but it didn't come from my mom, my dad, and my brother.
Wow, and isn't that true? I think for anybody who comes out at any point, there's that fear of how people will react and who to tell or what, to tell first or second or whatever.
I had a good, really close friend in college who you think you know people, and then I had a really close friend in college say, the typical, well, you just haven't been with the right guy yet, so just figure that out, and I'll set you up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the twilight zone right now.
Right.
But yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Least expected.
Right, exactly. So the time I was in Colorado and I had earned my master's degree and I was counseling, so there's a gap between when I earned my master's and my doctorate. So I practiced for a while. So I did a lot of different things. I worked in schools. I worked in juvenile prisons. I worked for the public health department for a period of time. So I joke that I was professionally gay for a couple of years, in that I worked and facilitated support groups and for a program called Oasis in Boulder County. And so it was a program that ran support groups for kids 13 to 21 and then did all kinds of programming and education in that area. So I started out as a volunteer while I was working another job, and then ended up becoming employed there. And so did that work. I started through that program I'm trying to remember. It's been a little while since I did that.
Yeah.
But we had such a need, particularly for young people who were identifying as transgendered, and they were very, very young and needing, and it wasn't really appropriate for them to be in spaces with 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. So we created a group for that much younger set, and then also in support of their parents. And so I was writing and building curriculum and trying to learn based on what I knew from my counseling skills and just experiences I'd had with young people, and then trying to figure out how to create that. But there were some really innovative things. We would have young people and families come from very far away because there wasn't much like that
for the
at
service,
the time.
huh?
Yeah.
What city were you living in?
This was in Boulder County.
In Boulder. Okay.
Yeah. So it was. People know this Boulder, but it was also Longmont, Lafayette, Louisville. Those are some of the other surrounding areas. But yeah, it was really meaningful work.
Well, Boulder's kind of purple, isn't it? Or, because there's a university there. So, a little bit more liberal, or is
it's
it?
It's very liberal.
Very
you know
liberal?
what? I say this a lot, and hopefully, I say this a lot, and I feel like Boulder County in some ways is really similar to Santa Cruz County. So Boulder and the city of Boulder and the city of Santa Cruz remind me a lot of one another. You've got gigantic mountains there, and you've got the beautiful ocean here, but just people who have been here for a long time, have deep roots, care about the outside, the environment, community, but are pretty liberal. There's a big university here. There's also a community college. But then you have the other areas in the county that are a little bit different, right? So I feel like Santa Cruz County is lots of communities within one big county, and that same sort of principle exists there too. I felt like Longmont was kind of the Watsonville of Boulder County. So there's some similarities.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so interesting similarities there. But yeah.
I was thinking what an interesting coincidence it is that you worked in a program called Oasis, and on your Cabrillo campus you have a school called Oasis,
we do,
where
yeah.
Lots of LGBTQ plus students end up there. I've interfaced with the teachers there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's a fun coincidence.
Yeah, Oasis, and I'm not even going to get the acronym right. It's been so long, but it was like open and affirming,
something
sexual
like that.
orientation and gender identity support. But the Oasis was that acronym at that time. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so it was neat.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So you talked about working with different students and kids and at-risk kids and juvenile hall and so did any of those things sort of lead you to become a foster parent, or tell us about your foster parent experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so I worked in all sorts of settings. I think I enjoyed mixing it up and working in all types of different settings. And so one thing that really interested me was the intersection between behavioral health, mental health, trauma, and then young people being incarcerated, and how those, because a long time ago it used to really bother me. They say, air quote, this is a mental health kid, or air quote, this is a criminal kid, without a lot of understanding that those two things often go together in many ways. And so I was working at a school, and I think I'd been working at the juvenile prison as well. And anyway, one thing, so I would work with a lot of at-risk kids or kids who I would say had done really bad things. But what was always important to me was always to mentor a kid, or to just kids that were a little less on the intense side, just to have that, more baseline experience. I guess that's the best way to say it. In any event, I got really attached to a young person, or I heard about a young person who was living in a group home and had just a tough set of circumstances and didn't have a home. And they were wanting, and that group home was going to be dissolved for no reason, not for his issue or anything. And he was doing a decent job. And because there was no place for him, they were going to put him in a higher level of care. So it's essentially like putting him in a restrictive, kind of locked setting.
Right.
And this is a young person that didn't need that anyway. I was like, well, I'll be his foster parent. Why not me, right? And so I went through all the training and all of that. And I had worked with foster parents a lot in some of my other roles, working in the county. Anyway, long story short, it was interesting. They wouldn't let me be that kid's foster parent. I don't know. I feel like
they thought it was some kind of conflict of interest.
Well,
or what did,
I think, yeah, I guess we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they were irritated that I found the solution. They ended up finding another foster home for that kiddo. So I feel like that was a good thing. And then they asked me, would I be willing to foster a different kid? And I did, and I was, and it turned out good. And I ended up doing that for probably 10 years.
The same kid for 10 years or different kids?
A couple of kids. I had a lot of longevity with the kids that I had in my home, and each kiddo that I got was probably a higher level of care. But I had them for years and years and years.
What age range were these kids?
So 13 to 16-ish, although I had they would age out of my home. And so by the time they were 18, right? And then that was a whole thing too. It's like, well, when they're
aging out,
when you age out of foster care at 18,
the ball is dropped. Was there any?
Absolutely.
Were you in Colorado at that point?
Yes, this is.
And was there any kind of transition program? Because there's transition program after 18. So then there's because these kids are getting dropped.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. They're not really, if they were still. So I created my own. I just let them stay. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. They were my kids.
Yeah.
At that point, I'd had them for years and years, and helping to support their transition. So no, not really. But I wasn't gonna do that. So yeah.
How great it is to know that you've got that personal experience with students. That's got to be a unique perspective as a president of a university to have had that experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think I do feel like I have the appreciation of young people and older people, frankly, that have a lot of barriers or have a lot of challenges and still are trying to do the right thing or trying to overcome. And education really is the key, I think, to overcoming quite a lot.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk more about Cabrillo College and your vision for Cabrillo and why you came here.
Welcome back to Pride Perspectives Radio Show. Our show tonight is titled Cabrillo College. It's titled. I'm calling it. We're titling it Cabrillo College President Jenn Capps. How about that? Access to education and LGBTQ plus student support. We've been chatting with Jenn, and who became the president of Cabrillo College in January of 2026, and a little bit about Cabrillo. So Cabrillo opened in 1959.
1959, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Just a little bit after I was born, actually.
Right. I wasn't around either, but it's interesting to note that historians that we needed Cabrillo College if we were going to get a University of California in the future.
Yes,
and
we
how
did.
those things all fit together.
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly what Rob said, that we needed that so we could get the university. So anyway, there were some very forward-thinking, people that valued education around Santa Cruz, and then we got UCSC in 1965.
Yeah.
So, and in the beginning, I was here before they built UCSC. We called that our backyard, and then they built UCSC, but they had in the very beginning, I graduated high school in 1975, and during that time and the few years before, you were guaranteed entrance into UCSC if you went to Cabrillo. They had this program that was fabulous that I'm sure we would all die for today, but absolutely, if you went to Cabrillo and you got either your little AA or your AS, you were guaranteed to get into UCSC, and that is not so today.
Well, spoiler alert, it's nearly true.
It's nearly true.
Nearly
I was seeing
true.
those statistics were there.
Yes.
Okay, good. So
but aside from all of that, Jen, what if you start by telling us why you came to Santa Cruz and Cabrillo?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, I have been a fan of Cabrillo College for a long time. It's been a community college that I have known about and I've heard about in terms of the excellence of the faculty, the programs, how it's beloved by the community impact. So it's one that I knew about. I've been coming to Santa Cruz for years just because I love the area. I have close friends here. It's just a place that I've been a fan, and I'd always thought, oh man, how neat it would be, right? And when I saw the job opening come up, I said, that's for me. And so I was all in. I am all in. So it all worked out. And I think what was even better is when I looked at what some of the opportunities were for Cabrillo in terms of opportunities for growth and just being able to build on some of the successes, it's a lot of the stuff that I've done and that I've been good at in my career. And so I thought the alignment was really good.
Yeah. And this week's the first week of classes.
Yep.
So this is your first new year, so to speak.
Yeah, I came in, at the spring semester mark, right in the middle. So yeah, it's my first fall semester starting at the full beginning of an academic year. Classes start tomorrow. There's still time to register if anybody wants to get in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if anybody wanted to register. How much time is left for people to register?
People can still register today, tomorrow. I mean, usually you can register even within the first week or two. But what we also do is we have late start classes as well. So if people are like, oh my goodness, I'd like to do that, but I can't take a class till a little bit later in the semester, we've got you. We
cool.
really, really strive to be accessible because we want to meet the needs of the community. But I do want to go back to a point I think a lot of people don't know, and I think UCSC would appreciate me saying this too, because the transfer, one of the things that we're really working on is that transfer pathway.
Yeah.
A lot of times if students start at Cabrillo and then want to transfer to UCSC, it's usually above 80% that they will get in, and probably higher than that. And so that pathway is really strong, and I know UCSC is seeking more transfer students. And our new housing project is something that I think is going to help facilitate that even more.
Yeah, it's been fun seeing that go up. I don't live too far from there. Walk by it. And what a great... Of course, you just kind of came in after that was all planned, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. It's, got to see it through, though. Got to make it all happen. Make it on time, make the budget work, everything.
And
but
when is that opening up?
August 2027, so in 1 year.
Okay,
1 year from now.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
So I want to know, and I know that the listeners want to know, what does a president of a college do?
Yeah. Everything and nothing. That's what I say. No, that's what when people ask me about my budget is. I'm like, well, it's all of it and very small of it. So my goal is really, my job really is to make sure that the college is running smoothly, that it is functioning from a fiscal perspective in a good way, that it is meeting the needs of the community, that students are able to take the courses that they want, earn the degrees that they want, that they're getting the support that they need, and that we're continuing to remain active in terms of making sure that the different pockets of our community are getting their needs met by the college. And so that's an active and continuing process in terms of making sure that we have our pulse on what the workforce needs are, but also what the other things are too. Like people really enjoy coming to campus for Cabrillo Stage, for the art gallery, for horticulture classes, like all of that stuff, the farmers market, right? All of those things that really make it a place that is something that is serving the broader needs of the community. But my philosophy about leadership is really, how do I help to support the leadership team, the board of trustees, community members to be able to lead and impact the college in the ways that align with their skill sets, and how do I knit those pieces together in an asset-based way? I don't necessarily have to have my finger on every little piece of the college. In fact, that would be impossible and probably not the best way to go. But how do I help people to be the best version of themselves and feel supported by the college?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that sort of brings us to the LGBTQ plus
Yeah.
activities and things that you guys are doing there. The Gender and Sexuality Club and the Rainbow Council
Yep.
and any other things in the works. And also, and I wanted to ask Rob too, like, what was your favorite class? And what is your favorite class currently at Cabrillo?
Oh,
If
wow,
you know that
that's-
syllabus. And
That is a good question.
Before we do that, though,
Okay.
I'm curious to know if before you came here, you knew the LGBTQ plus supports that existed at Cabrillo, and then as you think about those, what you hope they will become.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about the GSA, the Rainbow Council. I appreciate the Rainbow Council a lot because I appreciate them both, but I love the Rainbow Council is staff members, faculty, students, community, like pretty much anyone that wants to allies, anybody that wants to be in support of our GLBTQ students. It's for you. Like, come and help to be of support. I think representation matters a lot, and so it's interesting, both as an out lesbian, but then also as a woman, how important that is to people. Shouldn't be undersold, I guess, because people come up to me all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're in this role. I think you're great, but I'm so glad you're gay, or I'm so glad you're a woman. I'm so glad we have a woman leading things. So it's really interesting, that representation piece, and I think that goes beyond just the GLBT piece, but just making sure that we have all sorts of diversity and roles of leadership across the college. So I think that is so important. So that representation matters. Where I show up, where leaders show up in terms of different community events, making sure that one of the things I think, having clubs and activities and events are really important, but really helping to make sure it's the little things, it's the microaggressions, it's being able to teach and reteach and teach again how to incorporate, GLBT affirming curriculum and representation into all types of courses, whether it's a STEM class or a history class, it doesn't matter. And just rules of engagement and how to welcome in people. And that could be pieces around pronouns. It could be all of those things. And people, in my experience, often don't intend to be harmful, especially in education. But harm is harm is harm. And it still makes it very difficult for our students. I think also making sure that we have physical markers that demonstrate that it's a safe place or an affirming place, because students get to show up how they feel comfortable showing up and sharing what it is they feel like sharing. They may not want to share anything. They may want to share their entire story or somewhere in between, but they need markers and physical markers and that representation to know that they could, if they wanted to.
So as you think about curriculum and classes, you talked about showing up and what that looks like for LGBTQ plus students. What do those look like in a classroom, would you say? Or what is the pathway that Cabrillo is moving towards to be more inclusive?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also, I think we look at it as a broader set of curriculum that helps to make sure that there's representation in our curriculum, and so that, kind of as I was saying before, that that there's that faculty are willing to kind of put their syllabi forward and take a look at it and make sure that there's representative people and you know what I mean, because
different cultures and
yes,
things like that.
And I think that is not always the case, and I think that is really, really very, very important. I think we also let students lead a lot. It's interesting because we have some really, I'm not surprised that we have some really incredible students, but they let us know what they want, right, in terms of celebrations and different, events, speakers, book club type of things, just gatherings where they can get together and talk, making sure that we have counselors and different folks that have the skill set to help to support our GLBTQ students. The acronyms throw me because they change a lot, right?
I know, it's
they're
different
very
from different state to state.
I
huh?
know,
Yeah.
I know. But in any event, so making sure that we have those pieces. And so I'm a firm believer in making sure that students have representation on decision-making or recommending bodies at the college, because it's their education. And
Yeah.
I don't
Well, that reminds me of one of my favorite classes I took at
Okay.
Cabrillo.
Okay.
It was called Theory and Decision Making.
Okay.
So I was a young person. I'm like, I don't know what the heck I want to do
Okay.
here. And some counselor said, well, if you can't make a decision, go to the decision class. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
nice.
theory and decision making. I can't decide what I want to do. Go to that.
Okay.
Then my other favorite class was Death and Dying. Amazing.
Oh.
Linda Spelder,
Wow.
Death and Dying. Amazing class. Really
Yeah.
important for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite class yet. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'll tell you though, to connect to your Death and Dying class, I'll have to check it out. Years ago when I was doing the work with Oasis and doing the support groups and stuff, I ended up going through a whole Death and Dying and hospice training program. And it was very much with the understanding of to try to teach, to come from an understanding and to understand about loss and grief for people and for young people and older people too who may be experiencing grief and loss due to fractures from coming out. And it was so interesting how applicable that was, and how much what I learned from there has stuck with me in terms of those teachings and how similar it was. So it's interesting you say that. The class, I'll tell you, no, this isn't a Cabrillo class, but I bet you there's a class like that at Cabrillo. When I was in graduate school, and I took a multicultural counseling class, and the teacher was absolutely incredible. She was absolutely phenomenal, and I learned more in that class. I ended up going on to teach multicultural counseling later in my career, but what I loved about that class, and it was my first one of my first exposures to these book lists, so lists and lists of books, essentially by people who weren't straight and white, right? So it was books by diverse people, and I think I read literally like 200 books. I made it a purpose for the next 10 years not to read anything by a straight white male. And it was that was my thing. I've since changed my perspective on that, but I said, well, probably a lot of my reading up to this point has been in that genre, so let me shift gears here. But what it opened my eyes to in terms of sort of breadth of knowledge and experience was transformational for me.
Well, we look forward to perhaps inviting you back sometime, maybe with some of the GSA members or something.
Yeah,
that would
that'd
be
be
a fun
great.
conversation once the school year gets going. But as you're moving into the new school year and people are wondering about Cabrillo College, what advice would you have to any of these students or older students that might be interested in Cabrillo at this point?
Yeah, you can do it. You come, show up, register for a class, meet with an advisor. Education is always a good idea, and we're here to support you. And no matter what your path is, what you want to study, even if you don't know what you want to study, just come hang out, come talk to somebody, because it's always a good idea to get more education. And in my experience, getting more education has never been harmful. It's always been helpful to helping people to pursue their career goals, but just helping to make you a more balanced and good citizen, being able to help connect you with community. So we are here to support you. And if you come there and you're like, you don't have what I need and want, we'll figure it out for you. And that's really my goal, truly.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow, how exciting to have you in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
Glad
thank
you're
you.
here and look forward to interacting with you in many different ways. So thanks again for being here.
Absolutely.
And we are all in agreement about education. And I'll tell a really brief story if Rob will let me. When my daughter was 8 years old, I took her to every spiritual church, temple, whatever we had here in Santa Cruz County, and Buddhist temples and everything. And at the end, I said, what do you think is the most important thing? She said, education.
Yep. Famous words.
Wow, that
Yep.
was great. Do you have a final quote for us, Cece?
Well, yes, I do.
Good.
And I have a couple of little short quotes, of course. And, believe it or not, Benjamin Franklin said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. John Dewey said, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. And Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." And then Helen Hayes, "The expert in anything was once a beginner."
I love that.
Those are great quotes to start off the school year for Cabrillo, and
Yeah.
a lot of our K-12 schools are already in session, and UCSC will be starting soon. So thanks for all of those, CC. Speaking of education, our next show on September 6th will feature superintendents of schools from Monterey County, PK Diffenbaugh and Linda Adamson, both are superintendents in Monterey County. They'll talk about their own stories and support systems for LGBTQ plus students. August has been Transgender History Month, and we appreciate the many transgender people in Santa Cruz County who continue to enhance our lives. As far as culture, as you heard, hopefully some of you will show up at the Neighbors tonight after our show. And Santa Cruz Shakespeare is in full swing with a variety of shows. Santa Cruz Pride invites everyone to come and see Kristen Key, a lesbian comedian, performing on Monday, September 21st. Get those tickets now, and Kristen will be our guest here on this show on September 20th. So we're excited about all of those people coming and being part of our show and supporting each other throughout Santa Cruz County, which is what we've always done. You can find all the information about this show and other things on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org. Thanks again for listening to Pride Perspectives, Conversations, and Stories to celebrate the LGBTQ plus culture and history across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.
Up the misty mountain, wildflowers bind the ground.